The government just passed a housing bill that decides who can and who cannot own real estate. If you're an investor, you need to be paying attention to this bill. This has the potential to turn the housing market upside down. Some will benefit, some won't. What will you? Right now, the housing market is broken. No one will deny that. We are 4 million houses short. Affordability is at an all-time high. Interest rates are relatively high compared to recently, and something's got to give. There's no real quick solution. This bill is aimed at coming up with a solution, but it won't happen overnight, and there are lots of things to dig into. Rent is absolutely crushing the middle class, and if you're a landlord, you're not even cash flowing. So you own a rental property that's barely cash flowing, if at all, and if you're a renter, you're paying more rent than you can afford, so nobody's winning. This is a bipartisan bill. 89 senators voted yes, 10 voted no. So this is something that is rare, getting that much unanimous support from both sides of the aisle. And this is not something minor. It still has to go through the Senate and get approved. However, the changes in this bill are something that we haven't seen at this scale in decades. In a nutshell, this covers affordable housing, focus on increasing supply, cuts building restrictions, expands manufactured houses, and gives local governments more control. But those aren't things that anyone's really worried about. This bill goes after investors, and that's what's catching everybody's attention. A big part of this bill is limiting control of these institutional buyers, potentially forcing them to sell their houses and reducing investors' overall influence in the market. That sounds great on paper, but I'm here to tell you it's not going to have the impact that you want. And it doesn't fix our number one issue, which is the housing supply. We need more houses built faster and more affordable houses built faster. And part of this bill addresses that, but that's not something that's going to happen in the next year or two. It's going to take several years of cutting all the red tape, incentivizing builders, building affordable housing in the right areas, at the right locations to actually make an impact on the housing market and to have the ease of affordability come down on everyone. What's proposed right now is not allowing anyone to own or any business to own over 350 houses, which is about 1% of investors. 99% of investors own less than 350 houses. So this is only fixing 1% of the investing quote unquote issue. And these hedge funds and institutional buyers, I don't like them. I have to compete with them at times. They're not what's causing the issue. Invitation Homes, which is the biggest homeowner in the United States, that's Blackstone's arm that owns houses. They own about 80,000 houses. There's 150 million houses in the US. So let's do some quick math. 80,000 divided by 150 million houses in the US. They own 0.005 or a 0.5% of the actual housing supply. So this story that they're buying up houses over market, they're not doing that, and manipulating the market and manipulating rent, it's just false. I know people like to talk about it, but it doesn't mean it's actually real or happening. The numbers don't lie. This also might backfire by de-incentivizing investors. Trust me, you want investors. This is the biggest misnomer that people that don't invest think about investors. People that don't invest think people like me are buying up the housing supply. They think we are creating a bigger shortage in the housing supply. They think we're buying homes and bidding against single moms and a nice young family that wants to live in a nice area. That's not happening. Most investors like me, which is most people that invest, we buy distressed houses. You see, we buy houses that need work. We buy houses that won't even pass inspection. Your bank that you go to won't even fund the deal. They won't underwrite it because it needs too much work and won't pass occupancy. Even if it would, the single mom, that nice young family, is not going to be able to buy a house while living somewhere else and have to put $50,000, $100,000 into it to make it livable. They just can't afford the down payment. They can't afford the rehab funds, and they can't even rehab it because they don't know how. So I take houses that you never seen, never heard of. I fix them up and then I sell them at market price. Sometimes I make money, sometimes I lose money, or I rent them at market rate, which doesn't cash flow very much right now. So in general, we add. A good real estate investor is going to add to the housing supply by taking houses that you can't and won't buy, fixing them up, and taking the risk of making money or losing money and putting them on the market. I will die on that hill, and if you don't agree with me, comment why not, or DM me on Instagram, and I will show you pictures of houses, and we can have some pop up here that we buy that you won't and can't buy. Now, I don't want to get too worked up here because this bill still has to go back through the House. The House has already talked about starting up a committee to go over some of the changes that the Senate made. This is going to go back and forth a few times. But in general, the things that I like out of the bill that I think will have a short, midterm, and long-term impact will be decreasing the costs and regulations that go into building new houses, incentivizing builders to build more affordable houses, and freeing up some federal land so that these builders can get land cheap or in certain areas that need more housing supply. That will make a difference. But the biggest thing that can make a difference right now would be having interest rates slowly lower so that the market tends to unfreeze a little bit. There are millions and millions of Americans sitting on 3% mortgages, 4% mortgages, 2.5% mortgages, or paid off houses. They're simply not going to list their house, so they're restricting the supply until interest rates come down so that when they move to another house, they're able to afford it because of the lower interest rates. So in general, I think this has some legs, and I think we'll come to a conclusion that will make a difference because this 350 house minimum that they're discussing isn't really a thing because 99% of people own less than that. And on top of that, there are loopholes and ways for those big companies to get around it. So it's not actually going to do anything. I think it's just something on paper that gets people excited and that actually makes people think that they're actually working in their favor when they're really not. So overall, this is a step in the right direction. We need more supply, we need lower interest rates, and things will start to come back to a little bit more normal. If you want up to date on these types of things and other things in the real estate investing industry, make sure to subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell. I release a video every single week on this channel, and I have a podcast that you can listen to that will keep you up to date with real estate trends and topics, and also everything I'm doing, buying 250 to 300 houses a year and owning 50 million in real estate, all coming from the middle class. Hit the like button and let me know what you think in the comments.